The weekly 50 quiz continues to sponsor Halfwit. If you have not done the quiz, I give you full permission to stop listening right now, do the weekly 50, and then come back and listen to today's episode. But even better than actually doing the quiz on your phone is going to one of the weekly 50 quiz nights. So go onto Google, go onto the weekly 50 quizzes Instagram page, find a quiz night near you. I know about this time last year, I had my good friend Tom Galing, a founding member of the Weekly 50, take myself and Nick Norman to the Yellow Matter Brewery on Marion Road there near the airport and had an absolutely fantastic time. So, check them out on Google and also their Instagram, the Weekly 50 Quiz. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Halfwit. I've got a little bit of a step in my spring, and I've also got a spring in my step because this time tomorrow, and basically whenever you're listening to this, I will be on school holiday. So to all you teachers out there, you know, term 3 is always a tough one. We've survived these 10 weeks, and we get 2 weeks off to recuperate, or 16 days and 17 hours. But who's counting? So, very exciting time. AFL Grand Final this weekend as well, Geelong and Brisbane. So it's getting warmer. Life is good. You know what else is good? Today's episode with Ali Fleming. So as you'll hear in the episode, Ali and I used to play footy at the mighty Brighton Bombers and recently reconnected. And Ali wanted to tell his story. And the best part of today's episode was how raw and honest Ali was when talking about some really confronting issues that he and his family have faced. And it was absolute pleasure to interview Ali and chat with him. Hopefully his story can potentially help and inspire some others. So without further ado, enjoy episode 8 with Ali Fleming. Ali Fleming, welcome to Halfwit.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Mate, how good. Fitting that we're chatting in the Brighton recording studio of Halfwit, just a kilometre down the road from where we probably first met?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was under 14 when we first met. Yeah, down mighty Brighton Bombers.
Yep, I reckon I would have been probably 18, 16.
You were in 18s, yeah.
The Brighton powerhouse junior football club of the... sort of the mid to late 2000s. So what are you, mate? You're 30...
34, yeah.
34. So I've got 3 on you.
Yeah. Probably got that many flags on me too.
Mate, we won a lot of premierships and we'll dedicate the last 2 hours of the podcast to that, mate. But just for all our listeners out there, when I think it was a couple episodes in, or when I released the pilot episode, you hit up my Facebook Messenger. That's what all us mid-30s people still use to communicate. Still trying to figure out that old Snapchat and TikTok thing. But you actually reached out to me and just said, "Oh, mate, I have to come on your pod." And I thought you were a little bit joking for the start. And then we just got chatting. And you said, "Yeah, I've got a pretty good story to tell." And we had a bit of back and forth chatter. And then I had a good chat with you on Sunday just prior to today's episode. But mate, it's a bloody good story. So just tell our listeners, mate, where it all began for you.
Yeah, I felt a little bit silly messaging you at that time because I must have got a random boost of confidence to tell a story. But I think being a teacher now, I sort of see a lot of experiences in kids that was pretty similar to myself, or you can resonate with. So I grew up in Seacliff as a pretty happy kid. With 2 brothers and mum and a dad, and we had a nice house, and we went to Seacliff Primary, and had a really good schooling experience in that way, and lived by the beach. And
it's a tough part of the world, isn't it?
It's rough. Like lots of retirees handing the cricket balls back from over the fence when you hit it over, and never getting angry, and really rough. So no, we had it pretty good, and we knew that. I think we were always pretty grateful for how we grew up, but had Mum was at the point when I was born. I think Mum was either working here or there she's a qualified nurse, so she'd work here or there, maybe doing some blood donations. And my dad was a physio who he owned his own physio business, but he owned it in Mount Gambier. So they're both from England. So mum's from Liverpool.
Yep. And later on as well, your accents are unbelievable. So at any stage, if you just want to just revert back to Liverpool alley, that'd be great.
Just go proper scouse on it.
Yes.
You like slut. Yeah, no, we had so Dad was from. I know he went for West Brom, so he always said he was from like the Midlands. So we grew up with a very sort of British house in the way that we spoke and the humour we used. And if you know anything about Liverpool humour, it's a real ducks back mentality. So you can't get hurt feelings on things. You just go with the flow. But yeah, so
when did they move over here?
Oh, so my dad was. Oh, I think my dad was about 25, and he first lived in Fremantle as a PE teacher.
Okay.
And my mum was 5. So my mum was a 10-pound pom.
Yep.
With my grandparents, and yeah, so they moved from Liverpool. Like my granddad worked in the docks, which was a pretty rough part of the world.
Could imagine.
And grandma was she's from Southern Ireland in Cork, and they moved to Liverpool, like half of Ireland did. But yeah, mum moved when 5. Dad was 25, I think, and he did his PE teaching, and he worked. He had a wife. We found out he had a wife from a previous relationship. So when he first started dating my mum, my grandparents felt a reason to get a PI on him, and found out he had a wife in WA, which was a bit of a surprise. So there could be another Fleming boy running around or Fleming girl running around somewhere. But my dad was about like 12 years older than mum, so they met at a very different stage in life. But I think one thing that got them together was my old man's humour. Quite charismatic guy, and my mum loved to have a laugh, and so they got married. And I think my mum would have had Dan, my oldest brother, late 20s, I'd say.
Yep.
Yeah, mid 20s, late 20s.
So what's Dan got on you? He's got 7?
Dan's 40, nearly, he'd be 41.
Yep, because I remember Dan, very, very good volleyballer at Brighton Secondary School. And when he was in year 12, I was in year 8. And I remember at the Australian Volleyball Schools Cup in Melbourne, they won gold.
Yes.
When he was in year 12. And I've just never seen someone jump that high until I met your next brother, Jack, and then until I met you. So something in those genes.
Yeah, short hamstrings, I get told. We were always very springy human beings. But yeah, Dan didn't even know what volleyball was when he got to year 8, didn't know how to play it. And then by, I think, year 10, he was playing in the Junior Olympics at Sydney. So just a natural athlete. But volleyball, we had a really, really strong volleyball program there, which is really cool.
And that's the best thing about, and obviously I've mentioned to the listeners, I'm a teacher at Heathfield High School, and we have an amazing volleyball program, as does Brighton High School, just down the road. And the amount of people you meet through volleyball and going to those Melbourne and now Gold Coast trips. And it's such a great sport too. Like I'd say a low chance of getting hurt, but not that physical contact of a footy or a rugby, etc. Yeah. So yeah, mate, you went to Seacliff Primary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We grew up down the road actually. So where we lived was one street away from Seacliff Primary, which is was awesome. Like I loved it. If anyone knows Seacliff, there's a bit above Seacliff Primary that's the hockey courts and the tennis courts, and that was where we went to school actually, where that was, where all those houses are built now. But I remember in reception getting my things in my drawer and walking down the hill and got to the new school, which was Seacliff, the new build, and yeah, that was wicked. I loved Seacliff. It was great. It was just it kind of felt like a country school. Yeah. We had an old dog called Taffy, and she kept running up the road. Big farm, like curly-coated retriever, so very like fit and agile dog, and she kept escaping the house and then coming up to the school, and we used to get a little Fleming boys on the speaker, your dog's at the school again, so get her back and walk her down back to the house and then come back. And yeah, I loved it. It was a great school. But yeah, that was till about start of year 5.
Yep.
And then I went to St. Peter's Woodlands in Glenelg, which was really good for me. I was pretty low in confidence student, so Got a bit of help there, and that was a really, really good school for me. Kind of boosted me back up in realizing I can do a bit more than I thought I could, and then yeah.
And before going to the mighty Brighton Secondary School and playing for the mighty Brighton Bombers. But
That's right.
obviously you got two older brothers, but there was a period there where you had a little sister as well.
Yeah, well, so she was, so my family, my mum and dad went to India and adopted a girl. And she, for, I don't know what, I won't say her name just in case she ever hears it, and I don't want to rattle her on things. But yeah, so they went over, and Dad's physio business was going well, and Mum would really like to introduce another family member, and she thought, oh, it would be really great to have someone who deserves a life, and is already around, and you don't have to make a new baby. And so they went over there. I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like 1 week, 2 weeks they were gone for, and came back with a sister, and they said she was something like 12 years old, and my mum looked at them and just said, "There's no chance. She's like 6." So she had a very, very tough upbringing, a very lost upbringing. So my sister was with us for, it worked out about 2 years, unfortunately. She didn't die, but so we had a few issues kind of pop up, and maybe touch on that at some point.
Mate, you can touch on it now too.
Okay. So we went to school at Seacliff, and our sister went there as well, and we're blonde hair, blue eyed, or light brown haired, blue eyed, white males, and the school was predominantly pretty Caucasian, really. I think she would have been probably the only Indian.
She stood out.
Yeah. There was you could see her. But yeah, she had a permanent bindi on her forehead. And Mum used to go to Central Market in the city and buy like decorative sticker bindis for special occasions and things like that she could wear, but also we plonk them on the middle of our forehead and go to school with her and try and kind of just make her feel a little bit like more included and less, out there. And that was always a bit of fun because it was kind of like a not even thought about thing. It was just, you just did that for your sister. Like, to be honest,
with some of your mates looking at you going, "What are you doing?"
No, never felt that. No, never felt any judgment. Never felt anything weird. Never thought about it. Never. There was no comments. The school was really great for that, I think. And we had a lot of fun. Like, we played t-ball and soccer and all these things, and she'd grown up in a world where you had to steal to survive, and then she was playing in sports teams and winning medals and smiling and having lots of fun. And never felt awkward or weird at all, ever.
And you said before she was only around for a couple of years.
So unfortunately, a little bit of a story about maybe my father, but he wasn't particularly happy with a few things that she was doing, unfortunately, and a little bit of what she was doing was like she got brought up in a world where you didn't know where the next meal was coming from. So sometimes she would leave the classroom and go down the halls and actually steal a little bit of money from some of the bags in the bag rack, or food, and it just kind of kept happening, even though she didn't know, but even though we knew she was safe and well fed and looked after, I think it was just a really big adjustment for her, and she just couldn't quite click into fully trusting that.
She didn't know any better.
Nah, well, and for good reason. It was a pretty rough life growing up, and even if it was 6 years, if Mum was correct, 6 years is pretty pivotal in how you trust humans and trust things like that. And so she stole a bit, and even when we'd have dinner, sometimes she'd put a bit in her pockets or stuff it in a teddy bear to eat later, or a bit of money that we used to get, pocket money or something. She'd take ours, and never really bothered us too much because it came back, but it wasn't an easy life for her. And then so unfortunately, my dad sort of decided that was a bit too much and put the ultimatum to my mum on whether it's either her or me, sort of thing. And unfortunately, mum sort of made the choice that I think most would, and said, "Well, you're father of my 3 kids. I choose you." And they had to look at getting a sort of to another family, which was a bit rough because yeah, you do grow up, treat like she was a sister. Like there was no difference.
Become attached to her, yeah.
Well, there wasn't. Yeah, it just felt like there was never any other life except she was around. So it was a big adjustment, all that, and I feel for her a lot because it would have been really tricky because you adopt someone and you think this is the person we're going to teach some trust, and then things got too hard and off she goes.
Yeah.
So I do worry about how that was for her, but I also don't judge mum ever on that decision because that was purely on my dad, I believe. He made that quite difficult, and then unfortunately about a month later I found out. I thought it was a year, but it turns out it was about a month. He actually left as well. So poor old mum and us, we lost the sister and lost the dad. He went up to Mount Gambier to live. So
Dad's basically said to your mum, we need to part ways. I was not going to say get rid of because, and then a month later, he's then said to your mum.
Yeah, he ended up pulling the pin as well. Not sure why that was, but yeah, it was apparently a pretty quick turnaround. But being so young, I was only would have been 7 or 8, and I didn't really register the time period between that. But yeah, apparently it was pretty quick turnaround.
So had he been working away as a physio at that time?
Yeah, so he always worked at Mount Gambier. So that's for anyone playing at home. That's like a 3.5 hour drive, 4 hour drive.
Yep.
So he had a little unit up there. So he'd work for like 2 weeks and then come back for maybe a week or 2. But then, as it got on a bit, the visits to us got a bit shorter and a little more probably volatile, you'd say, a little hostile. And then, then when he left, he went up and stayed up in Mount Gambier that was his base. And then he would come down, I think it was every 3 weeks to start. Sorry, I'm going to cough.
It's all right, mate.
Yeah, I think
I do have a cough button. It's the first time I've had to use it. So I think you just beat me to it. But
I know.
If there's another one, let me know and we'll
try one. So he came down every 3 weeks for a weekend, so Friday and Saturday night, and he'd catch up with me and my middle brother.
Yep.
And my oldest brother didn't, but he'd seen quite a bit throughout their relationship, and I think he was far more attached to protecting, not protecting as well, but also for mum.
And you said you were what, 7 or 8 or?
I was 8. I remember I was 8 because it was shortly after my 8th birthday party.
Yep. And with Dan being, it would have been 14, 15 by then, that teenage years, and sort of I've got to look out for mum here. Dad's left us, whereas you being still a young tacker, like did you know what was going on? And the reason I ask that is because I'm very fortunate, Ali. My parents have been together. They've just celebrated their 43rd wedding anniversary, which is incredible. But this is nothing that I had to go through. But are you aware of what's going on, or are you just thinking that Dad's gone away for work? Or
I think when it happened, I definitely registered like, okay, things are changing. I think I've got a very, very strong and very capable human being as a mum, so I don't think I ever felt a level of unease in a way that was stressful. Probably the opposite, actually. I probably felt safer and better that it was all kind of happening because the chaotic person was leaving. So there was a lot of things that happened when Dad came back, and Dan being like 14, 15, Dan at 14, he was like 6'4". He was a man, and we looked to him for instructions as an older brother. What do we do here? I'll go do this, and I think that really upset my dad because he'd kind of felt threatened by that a lot, and I think he treated Dan quite poorly. But we didn't. I just felt probably a lot more ease when he was gone because there was a lot more consistency. There was not that chaotic thing. My dad had a massive drinking problem, so you knew when you come home and you'd see the cast wine next to the couch and Dad there, you thought, is he happy or angry at the minute? So when that kind of got brought out of the house, it was actually quite reassuring in a lot of ways.
So when he came back for those weekends,
Mhm.
you said every 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
He wasn't staying at the house with you and your mum, or no?
No. So initially we stayed at the house just around the corner, in their granny flat. And then my old man, I kind of think of him a little bit sometimes as a traveling con man. He used people for what he needed them for, and that was the granny flat for these people. And they were really nice family that were, looking to help us out. And yeah, we'd stay down there, and then that relationship had been used up, I suppose. The charm had worn off, and then we'd stay at other mutual friends, or friends of the mum and dad's when they were married, and so we just kind of like keep staying at other people's places, and that was really, really nice. Like I never had a bad experience with them. Anyone we stayed with, we'd stay with 5 or 6 different people, and then we started staying at the Budget Inn Motel at Glenelg on Broadway Street.
Yep.
To people who'd picked up owning that place, and they were really, really nice. Like they were super, super nice. But yeah, that was just a little motel room, and sitting there and watched 007 on the Saturday night, and
How good.
tiny little TV in the corner of the room blaring because Dad was deaf in one ear.
I think they're still on pretty much every Saturday night. They're always on.
Well, they're elite. And fun fact, the last name of the guy who wrote it is Ian Fleming. So
It is too. So, Ali, you go through your teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not having that. Had Mum found a new partner by then, or
yeah, when I was about 10, I reckon I was about 10. Greg, my now stepdad, came into our life, but Greg was very different to my dad. My dad was a very sporty, very sociable, and not to say that Greg's any of these that isn't, but this was all very natural to Dad. Dad was always in just very charismatic. Would like take, if he was here, as much as I don't have the fondest memories of my dad, if he was here, he'd be making us laugh, because he just had that ability. And then Greg, my stepdad, came in, and he's got a long ponytail and a rainbow beanie on, and
how good.
Comes from Ballarat in Victoria, and not the English humour, and all these different, quite shy, quite anxious when it came to big crowds and things like that. And he just kind of came in, and we were a bit like protective of Mum as well as boys, but we were open to happiness. And I remember going for a walk with Mum, and this is when they kind of been seeing each other. I can't remember how long, maybe a year. And Mum had said, "Oh, I think Greg's going to live with us." And I just didn't have any concerns about that. I remember just saying, "Oh, well, you've never led us astray, Mum. So, you do you." And I think that meant a lot to her. She was pretty chuffed with that. But it was kind of one of those things where I was like, "Yeah, but you did that. Like, you established that." Like, I didn't say it to make you feel good. I just knew you wouldn't make a decision to put us in jeopardy or yourself. So he came in and started living with us, and yeah, he's always lived with us. He's granddad to all our kids, and he's just a fantastic man.
Yeah, and the reason I asked, get into the question about the male role model and your father figure. Now, obviously, you still saw your dad, but it was getting more and more intermittent. But especially now with a lot of same-sex marriages and 2 females raising a child, and we won't talk about too much now because the debate could go forever, and I don't want to lose too many listeners. But yes, you do need a male role model, but you also just need one, preferably 2 people, 2 adults, creating a safe and supportive environment for.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is what Greg and your mum did for you and the boys. So
100%. Like, I mean, Mum did both jobs. She did. Like, Dad was very distant. He wasn't around much, and never really did. Never paid child support. Never did any of these things that were agreed upon that you should do. But my house was just I just found my house, my home, like a really fun place. Like, I remember, if Fleetwood Mac was playing on the radio,
unreal.
Mum would have the sandalwood incense burning from Mystic Moon in Marion, and we don't like my house was like the Mardi Gras. Sometimes it was just all the eccentric gays and lesbians coming in, and it was just the funnest nights. Like, they were just fantastic, and my mum's friends were just salt of the earth, good people.
Yep.
And they still are. Like, a lot of them went to my wedding. They forever became special people to me. So the role modeling stuff was, it's important, because I do think that you need to see what you especially being a male and not having a consistent male there. Like Greg was always there, but Greg wasn't my dad, and he wasn't someone to overstep. He never really wanted to, and my granddad was the same. He's a great role model, but never wanted to step in as dad, and I really respect that because they didn't see that as their place. But yeah, I would search. I realised looking back, I'd search for male role models all my whole life, really.
And we'll talk about footy because that's where we did meet as well. But your first year at Brighton would have been, under 14s or when you're year 8, I'm assuming. And
I think it was I would have been year 9.
Yep.
I kind of just joined footy because I kind of just joined footy because I just felt like I didn't have any like real solid male mates.
And it's sort of what everyone else sort of did. You went to Brighton High School. There was a big connection with the Brighton Footy Club, and some of your coaches. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you would have had a Steve Shippey in there.
Yep.
Did you ever have Paul Hoare as a?
No, but I spoke a lot to Paul Hoare.
Yeah,
Paul Hoare was coaching 18s when I was 14s and 16s, and he's just a lovely human.
One of the greatest human beings in the world, and obviously his son Tom. Yeah, Paul was a great human being, and Tom, his son, I played a lot of footy with. But Graham Cummings as well.
Yep, Cummo, he's another really good guy. All the coaches I had at Brighton and the coaches that weren't even mine, I felt cared about me, and it was really cool. Like it was just a great sense of community. Like I felt like Brighton was a really, really strong club in that regard.
Because we all I was 3 years. We're never in the same grade, obviously, but we all knew who you were, and that team. I actually I pulled out the 2008 Brighton Bombers, I guess almanac, if you want to call it, which David Brown's put together. But there's. You were under 18s when I was playing A grade, and there was always those 8. But we knew who you were because you had your big bloody sideshow bob hair. You could jump so freaking high, and all those lads. And what I remember is that I think your last year at Brighton might have been 2009. So we had a couple of years playing seniors together. I don't think we ever played an A grade game together.
No, you were better than me.
Yeah, I was a fullback, mate. No one wanted to play fullback. Just put the tall, skinny, pasty kid in fullback and just tell him to punch the footy or double fist. But I got this the other day, and Benny Miller, who was on the podcast earlier, he's in it quite a bit as well. But Fleming dominated the ruck and picked up many possessions in field play. And I remember because you would have won, an under 16, under 18, couple of B grade. Like it was just a great place to be around.
Yeah.
We all made friends, but I guess for me, like I never, even though we played 2 years of A grade footy, I never really asked you. I knew your older brother Jack. Obviously, I played volleyball with Jack when he was year 8 and I was year 9. But I think as blokes and even just as teenagers, and you don't really ask, so what's your life been? What's your home life like? Unless you're really, really close mates.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I think that was the really big thing is like I joined a footy club. Definitely seeking out a lot of male role models, like definitely seeking out male. It sounds weird, but like attention. Like I wanted to connect with a lot of, especially dads, especially male coaches, all these people, because I still have very strong, wonderful females and role models in my life, and I'm very lucky to have that. But I think I didn't really realize I was doing it at the time either. But I was really seeking out a lot of male role models, and Brighton had that in spades. Like you talk about Paul Hoare, he never coached me ever, but I felt like he knew me better than most because he would just always put the time in to have a chat to me. He would always ask how I was doing, and it was very rarely about footy.
Yep.
And
that's the best thing about those people. They cared about
me,
what you did outside of footy. And I think a lot of the AFL coaches are like that as well. And Phil Walsh, who passed away for the Crows 10 years ago, he was always like, what do you do outside of footy? Who's your parents? Chris Fagan's the same. Craig McRae for Collingwood. Yes, they're getting paid to be a footy coach, but they take a genuine care in your life, and that's how you and I connect with people.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. It has to take the certain person, I realised, and I was really lucky because I had that by luck, really, by where I grew up. Because I mean, I didn't speak about it before, but Mum fought tooth and nail to keep us at Seacliff, and there was a time where that we could have not lived there if it went my dad's way, because he wanted the money for the house, and Mum's really, really clever about the way she went about this, and she got us to stay in Seacliff because we deserved to, and that's how she saw it. And through doing that, she exposed us to all these beautiful communities. You know, we were so lucky, and with footy in general, like I was always a sporty kid. Sport's always been easy. I can always understand it. You know, I could paint the worst painting in the world because it doesn't make sense to me. I can't connect with it. But sport it always made sense. I could always get the strategy. I could understand the techniques of people. So to be able to go in and play at a club like Brighton, where I thought footy was easy because I think in 5 years I played there, we won 4 premierships.
Yep.
And I didn't realize footy was really hard, really, really hard. But I also had all of the great stuff outside of just what happened on the field. And I remember a fella who was always a year below me, a bloke called Jimmy George, and his old man who drove Des' minibus. He would take his kids to training and he would watch training, and he would always make time to have a chat with me. Like I could bank on it. And I didn't know him at the start of the year. By the end of the year, I felt like, you know, he was a friend, not just like someone's dad.
Well, all us, you know, senior footballers loved when Jimmy George got best player because, like, what a name.
Yeah.
And if you're out there, Jimmy George, I remember I did connect with Jimmy towards the end of his time at Brighton, but what a great lad.
Great kid. Great guy. Yeah. Strong as an ox too, actually. But it was really good. You got all those really lovely things, and I do remember that special feeling of when like a seniors coach would talk to you and all those things. But it was just like a good game. How are you? How's the family? And I think that was something that is really important, especially in sports. Sports to me, you have to have community.
Yep.
Like it's very, very important. Like I coach girls footy, and we have a group chat, and it's not girls footy chat; it's girls community chat.
Yep.
And I think that's really important to put the emphasis on that, because you can all play that sport, but your connection is really important.
Yeah, and when you're at training and when you're on a game day, like it is all footy. Yeah, it's all netball, but that's why it's important to, you know, actually know, you know, where your players are going home to, what are their parents like, where are they from, etc. So you mentioned before your dad tried to take the house, so as well as not paying child support, like
interesting, man.
And I'm sorry I keep going back to your dad, but I guess that's
you only get one, so
yeah,
you can talk about one.
And throughout, I guess your high school years, and even, you know, once you finish your 12, you're not seeing a whole lot of him.
No. So yeah, like do you want to hear the story about how Mum kept the house?
Mate, please do.
I think my old man wanted to sell the house, and being in Seacliff, the house prices were rising, and it was really good. They bought the place for, you know, not much.
Yeah, it's now 9.3 billion.
Yeah.
For a 3-bedroom place on Yakka Road.
But, you know, they worked really hard for that house, and they put a bit of work into it. But, you know, it was rising in value, and Dad was living in Mount Gambier, and, you know, Dad unfortunately would put money more important than his family, and he wanted to sell it. And my mum was like, well, no, you know, we're not going to sell the house. Like, this is where the boys grew up. This is where they deserve to grow up. They got their friends, their family. Because you don't want to live here doesn't mean they don't have to. And you know, it takes an incredibly strong person to do that when they're suffering from someone just, you know, leaving the kids and leaving them with all the responsibilities and everything. But yeah, she got a inspection, so white ant inspection, and realized like the house was riddled with white ants, and it devalued the house by so much. So they got it revalued, and it came down a lot lower. And the agreement ended up being that he would just give the house to Mum, and she'd take on the mortgage. And so she kept the house for us, and I think over time her mortgage would have tripled or quadrupled because she wasn't earning that much managing 3 kids. But yeah, so she got the house, so she kept, and she's still living in that house now. And yeah, so I was kind of just the only one seeing Dad from there on. I think I was about 14 when I was the only one seeing Dad. Might have been 15. And you know, treated my brother pretty poorly, and some things went down, and you know, my dad wasn't being a very good dad to my middle brother, who, you know, didn't deserve that. He's a really good human.
He's a great man.
Yeah, so it was just me and Dad, and I actually preferred that. I loved hanging out with Dad. Dad was a really sporty guy. I could do lots with him. You could do any games with him. Being a past PE teacher, and just a sporty guy, he just made games fun. So we did that most of the weekends. And I just thought Dad was like my best mate.
Yep.
But realised, my dad was actually just being a mate. He wasn't being a dad at all, really, because I'm a dad now of two, and that doesn't work like that. So, I started working at the Dublin when I was about 18, and the Moseley, and he, I reckon he saw me for maybe he used to come down once every month and a half at this point. It was once in a month and a half or 2 months. So it spanned out quite a bit at that point. And I think he was due to come down that week, and he called me on the Monday. And I had answered the phone, and he said, "Yeah, I'm coming down this weekend." I said, "Oh, Dad, like, I just can't see you. Like, I'm working Friday night till 2 in the morning. I'm working Saturday night till like 3 in the morning. Sunday I start at 12. Like, I just don't think I can." And my old man just hung up the phone and never spoke to me again to this day. And I remember that really rattled me, because I was like the guy. I thought I was Dad's little bloke, I thought he was just his number one human. And, I talked about how he's like a traveling con man. I kind of felt like this can't be real, because like I'm our, I'm his son. Like I'm the guy. We're best friends. And yeah, it got to that point where I kind of realized it had gone on for, 2, 3, 4 months, and still no calls. And I went, oh, maybe I'm not that special.
So are you trying to contact him or message him during this time?
Yeah, so I tried to call him quite a few times. Yeah, and he wouldn't answer. And at this point, he actually stopped living in Mount Gambier. He was living in a place called Casterton, which is about 70 to 100 clicks over the border in Victoria.
Yep.
Lovely little place, like lovely town. He was like the physio at the hospital there. I mean, a lot of old farmers with bad backs and stuff. So Dad, to all his faults, I think he was quite a good physio, and made people feel at home. And yeah, so he just stopped answering, and then it would have been like a year on, or not even. I was working at the Dublin, and my dad had come into the pub, and he was obviously under the influence of quite a bit.
Yep.
And he came in, and I heard like they used to call me Ali Wow, and he's like, Ali Wow, and I looked over, and before I could really register who it was, I was already putting my hand out to shake the hand, because that's what you did in pubs, in hospitality. You're quite a sociable person. And he grabbed my hand and kind of pulled me in a little bit, and he's like, "I love you because you're my son." And I remember that really hit me. I didn't like that. I was like, "Cause I'm your son?" Like, I didn't love you because you were my dad. I loved all the things we did, but and that really hurt, because I remember feeling really abandoned by him. So I took my hand away and stormed out and went to the back room, and one of the security guards offered to teach him a lesson, but I didn't want that either. I was just kind of a bit hurt and rattled by it. And then since then, never spoke to Dad. So I was 18, and he would have passed away 4 years ago, I reckon.
Yep.
3 or 4 years ago. So yeah, never had a conversation with him.
Yep.
After that.
So what was it like when he did pass away? Obviously, he hadn't been a big part of your life in the years leading up to it. But what was that like for you and, for Dan and for Jack also?
Well, we had a really we had a really similar experience at different times, us brothers. Dan saw a lot as a teenager, and he kind of went through all the grieving and went through all the motions of things, and then he ended up like letting himself open up to Dad again, to let him in, and then Dad had kind of ruined it and done the wrong thing, and Jack had kind of done the same thing at a different time, and it just never happened with he and I. But sort of the lead up to it, when we went through all that, was I remember getting an envelope. My birthday's on New Year's Eve, so I remember getting an envelope with about $400 or $500 in it, and it was it wasn't that much. It was like 200, but it was
500 sounds better.
It sounded better, yeah.
Yep.
We'll go with 5.
1,000.
Yeah, real generous guy. But it was from Dad, and he sent me this money in a card. And Dad never bought me presents. He just threw $100 in for a birthday present, because I don't think he really thought he knew what.
It's quick and easy. Take money out, put in a card. Happy birthday, Ali.
100%. So I got this card and I was like, I'm not taking this money. I'm not doing it. And I remember my middle brother, Jack never really stepped in with that stuff, never spoke too much on it. And he said, Al, because I started to feel bad because I wasn't seeing him. And he said, wouldn't feel too bad, mate. He did ask me how old you turning. And I remember just going like, stuff him. Like, and took the money and spent it on whatever I spent it on. But it was a really like another kind of eye opener into that. So obviously, and that was the last time we ever got anything because he told my middle brother that I, can't afford to give you guys birthday presents anymore. So we didn't get any after we all turned 21, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, it led up to when he passed away. We were, funny enough, like my middle brother Jack's gone up and lives in Gold Coast as a paramedic, and he's got 2 wonderful kids and a lovely wife and beautiful home, and he's all set up over there. And luckily enough, they come down for Chrissy quite a bit, which is really lovely. And my oldest brother Dan was in the house as well, and we all just I was sitting on the couch, and I think it was Boxing Day. My Jack came in and he said, Keith's dead. And I went, what? Keith who? And he's like, Keith, like Dad Keith. And I went, oh, how'd you know? And he just said that they've just called me. So Dad had put Jack down as the power of attorney, which is just so interesting because he was the one that Dad treated the worst. He was pretty horrible to Jack.
It's almost like out of guilt.
No, yeah, I think it was just the only one who would speak to him still. Like Jack would still answer the phone. He could disconnect a little bit, or he couldn't, and he hit it well. But it was just very interesting. Anyway, we got that call and we booked a car, and Jack, Dan, and I drove up to Cassidy to go clear out his house, and that was the first road trip we've ever been on as brothers. We realised, and it sounds so horrible, but it was heaps of fun.
Just bonding with your brothers.
It was wicked. We just had like the most awesome laughs, and go down memory lane and all these things. Like, I just had a great time with my brothers.
Were you talking about stories with your dad, or you were just talking about anything else?
Yeah, like bits of both, really. But yeah, stories about Dad was actually really interesting talking about stories about Dad, because Dan and I have really great memories, like a great recall of our memories. And we realised Jack, because he was treated quite poorly, he blocked a lot.
Yep.
And that was kind of an eye opener for us, that Jacko kind of had a little bit of a harsher time, and had obviously coped with it in a way that we hadn't. So when we're driving up, we're going through his memories, and Jack's like kind of laughing, and then we're like, yeah, you're right. And he's like, I just don't remember what you guys are talking about. And it was like, you were there. You were like the main character in this story. And he's like, yeah, no, couldn't tell you.
Wow.
So that was a bit of an eye opener to how we dealt with things. But yeah, we went up there, and the neighbour had found, if we get too gruesome, sorry, but the neighbour had found my dad in his house face down on the floor, and he'd been there for about 5 days before anyone found him.
Bloody hell.
So I think unfortunately he had kind of used up all his friends over there as well, and there was no one to catch up with. So I think, Christmas period and 5 days not being seen is pretty telling, I think. He also had like a stomach cancer, so he had like the colostomy bag, the thing that comes out.
Stoma, yep.
Yeah, and he had his bed was on like a ramp for the blood flow, and it was just like planks of wood underneath his bed. But yeah, he had kind of used up everything, it looked like, and it looked like he'd given up.
So didn't have a partner, or?
He did once, a lady called Cheryl. She was lovely. She was still kind of loyal to Dad even when we went up there. She still liked him as a person. She just couldn't do it anymore. And we all got it. We were like, yeah, we get it. Like, he can be like that. And she spoke about, his triggers, like he just snap and he get really cross and upset and things like that. So, he hadn't changed in that way. I don't think he ever really did. But I just don't think he was ever really like capable of kind of even loving himself and being able to love others. So, his house was a very interesting one, and it was layers. It was a few days we were there for cleaning out and meeting people and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, there's a few days of kind of going through different emotions throughout different days and just kind of riding them through and not really worrying that it's okay or not okay. And it was good, like, you with your brothers. And
You just got to push through sometimes.
yeah.
And then it comes out later.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And you just kind of ride it out. And, he was I think realistically, my dad probably drank himself to death because there was a lot of alcohol around that house, and it was like a lateral thinking puzzle. That house, there's things everywhere. But
were there photos of you and Dan and Jack around the house at all? Or?
Nah. There was a drawer. I remember there was a big chest of drawers, and I was going through it and cleaning it all out and finding some kind of like almost like the writings of a madman. He'd obviously gone through his things and wrote about it. And Dad was quite an academic guy, so he's very good at writing. But I think found like one photo of us when we were a kid in the drawer. But on his main fridge, there was a photo of a family that I've never seen or met or heard about. But they were on his fridge and we were in a drawer. His three sons were barely even featured in his house. But some person's kids were on his fridge, and that was interesting. But it was almost helpful for a bit of closure as well. It was like, oh, okay, maybe I don't feel that bad about not seeing him. Like, because there was that as well for myself. I did hold on to a little bit of like, oh, maybe I should have tried. He's gone now. You never have that option now.
Yeah.
But then seeing that, you're like, oh, maybe, maybe.
So is that a hard one as well? Like, is he the one that's meant to be reaching out to you as the parent, or you then become an adult and
yeah.
But I guess you did what you could, and But so that's what, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, and
yeah. No, I do on that though. I do think that it is the parent's job. You're only a kid. Like you're not dealt the handbook, and neither is that parent. But they're the parent. They're the adult. They decide to have the family. I do think that is the responsibility of the parent to be able to show them what that looks like, reaching out when times are tough, and you're not proud, and you're not all those things are big, and to not do that, like I took the expectation on myself that I was meant to do it. I was a kid.
Yep.
I look back at it now, I'm like, man, I was like torturing myself thinking it was my job. My old man told me some very interesting things about if I ever stopped seeing him, he'd end his life. And so I felt a lot of responsibility to continue on the relationship with my old man. And that was 14. I was 14 years old, I think.
14 years old, and you're basically getting blackmailed by your dad.
I was keeping him alive in my head.
Yeah.
That was the big thing. And I really took a lot of pride in that. I thought, yeah, I've got your dad. Like,
Dad's struggling.
Yeah, like you'll never have to worry about this. We'll always be catching up. And I didn't tell a soul. I didn't tell Mum, didn't tell my brothers, didn't tell anyone. I didn't feel the need to. I just didn't think it was relevant. I just thought that was Dad and me having a chat. And
I guess and Ali, we're both teachers, obviously, and you're trying to recruit me to see to college, and
yes,
just that could be payment for the podcast. But I'm very happy at Heathfield, but well-being so big at the moment. And I chatted on last week's episode with Kimbo about well-being is just the most important thing with kids at the moment, in a way, over even curriculum achievement and academics. But if when your dad's told you that, these days we've got well-being teams and home group teachers and year level coordinators that you could reach out to, even if you didn't feel confident talking to Mum about it, and you could probably work through it. But whereas back then you probably thought you don't want to burden Mum or your brothers with that news, and or you didn't know how to deal with it or cope with it.
I honestly don't know what my thought process was with that. I honestly think that my mum's an incredible person in her department of her job, and she works within the mental health industry, and I was very knowledgeable and intelligent in those areas because they were interesting, and I was role modeled all these things in my house. I wasn't treated like a client, but I was shown things. I was shown how to cope with things. I was shown, how to accept and move and I don't know, just kind of grasp concepts. But there wasn't really a discussion about that.
Yeah.
You didn't get someone sort of warning you that
No one teaches you
your
about
old
that.
man might say that to you. So I don't really know where my head went with that. I just kind of took it on, moved on,
Yeah.
and didn't feel the need to tell anyone. It was, I could have. I definitely didn't feel like I needed to hide it, but I definitely also did not realize how important well-being was.
Yeah.
Like, as being a teacher now, like, it's one of the things that's so cool. Like, I teach at a sports college, and you've got like 17-year-old blokes who want to be men.
Yep.
Who have all the bravado on a footy field, and they have all the bravado when they're playing around and mucking around with each other, but they still really care about well-being, and they really understand it, and they know how to not judge, and they go through all these things. And I was lucky enough where I had a pretty good knowledge from home, but there wasn't anything like that at school.
Yeah.
And it's amazing where it's at now. Like, I think it's really, really important because they know they can reach out. They know they can try and regulate, and they know they can do these things.
Because like a lot of our listeners will be from split families and have had parents that have divorced, and you would have been able to, I'm sure some of your mates would have also had parents that have split up as well. But it's also just knowing that you've got those support networks out there, and that, unfortunately it is quite normal, but you've still been happy, and we'll talk about your life in a minute, but you're living a very successful life, mate. And you're telling me how you've got, Thursdays you're working from home day, and if you need to go over to golf, you can. So we might just talk about that now, mate. So you obviously, you're a carpenter.
I was, yes, yep.
And while you were a carpenter, mate, I believe you became a father.
I did, yes, yep. I had Evie. So while I was a carpenter, I was also, well, actually, no, I wasn't a carpenter when Evie came into the world. I was a aspiring uni student.
Yep.
But doing my carpentry on the side, in some construction jobs. But yeah, like I think I kind of went on to. I was doing this job that, like, I was good at it. I liked it.
Chippy.
But I didn't love it. Like, I was really struggling with a number of aspects of construction. I'm so glad I did it, but I just didn't. It just wasn't my forever job. And I was injured in footy, and I was coaching under 13s. And I remember being on a Sunday. I would have been maybe a little bit dusty from celebrating on a Saturday night with the team, the A grade boys, and I was coaching these kids on Sunday. And one kid, he kicked his first ever goal. He'd been playing for 5 years, and I was getting goosebumps. And I was like riding that high, like absolutely loving it. And then building $1.5-2 million homes with Scott Salisbury or things like that, and just going like, yeah, next one.
Yeah.
And not really bothered. Like, I didn't really, it didn't push me to smile and feel really great. It was just kind of like, that was the job. But then this thing I was doing on the weekends, because I was injured, was pretty much riding my whole week. So I looked into it and talked to a very close friend of mine, Josh Bennett, who also made the same move that I did, went from construction to teaching, and he was in his placement. And I said, is it worth it? I'm thinking about it. He said, best move I've ever done. And I was, at this point, I was working at the Flinders Hospital Rehab Centre, the new bit that was getting built. And one day just put the nail gun in the toolbox at the end of the day and walked up the hill and applied for Flinders Uni and Bachelor of Education in Arts. And that was it. Got my photo, did my courses, and
had a student card at the age of 26, 27.
Yes, definitely one of the older students there. But
mate, there's a lot older. There's always those older mature age students that ask all the questions and sit at the front.
They certainly do. Yes, I was not that one.
So, mate, obviously you have little Evie.
Yes, I have little Evie, 7, and she's a superstar. She's very academic, but also lots of fun.
Yeah,
has a good sense of humour and loves her dance. And then I've got Rory, who's 18 months, who's just a little wrecking ball, but also just wants to have a laugh. And I'm very lucky; they're both very attached to Dad, and have a really, really beautiful relationship with him. And I'm very hands-on. I've always been a really hands-on parent, and I like to say that one, like, parent to me, because it just kind of it's your job. And I think I was always I think realised like I was always born to be a parent. I absolutely love it. Like
Yep.
it's just it's so much fun.
Mate, you've been unreal dad. You just you get those vibes. And obviously Evie you had with your former partner and young Rory you've had with your current wife Martina.
Yes, correct.
And what's he now? He'd be nearly 2 or
yeah, he's 18 months, but he's built like a 3-year-old. He's enormous. He's a big boy.
I just want to know how you've jagged a night off that tonight, though. You've jagged a free night. It's incredible.
Oh well, yeah, gave it a little go. So yeah, no, Martina's very understanding. She likes the idea of these things, and she's really good with a lot of encouraging hobbies and interests. And for me, like realizing over the last probably 3 or 4 years teaching that the story can resonate with a few people, or aspects of it, or one bit of it, or whatever. But realizing that I could actually use my experience as a teacher quite often and help students who are going through something, and just to be able to kind of understand their normal and not judge it, and not judge the parent, or not judge the situation, but just kind of help the kid, because that's the point.
It's almost the best thing about teaching now is when you're not actually teaching from the curriculum. Like
100%.
I teach a year 8 maths class, and we're currently talking about Pythagoras' theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. But
a lot of carpentry in that.
Yes, exactly. That's what I keep trying to tell them. I'm going to play this episode on Friday and go. And that was my exact. If you want to work in construction, using Pythagoras and angles and an area and perimeter, but it's the conversations you have that you can help them. And anytime a student's injured, they've injured a calf, which I've got a lot of wealth of experience in that field. But you just also say, mate, have the weekend off. It's around, it's not an important game. Get into a physio. Go for a walk. Don't rush it. And I know I'm talking about footy related, but even just you've had a bad day. Well, what are you going to do tonight then? What are you going to watch on TV? You're going to go for a walk, or do some colouring in, or do a paint. Like, just that's probably the best part of teaching, when you can actually just have a life conversation with them that is actually got, and from your experience. That's what I was trying to get with that long-winded point. But
no, it's good though. It's a really good point. Like those are the things, like you have these, and like, we could talk about how much we love teaching and everything like that, and we bore 80% of the audience with it. But
to all our listeners, it is the best job in the world, and we're recording this on a Thursday, and tomorrow being our last day before school holidays. Like we're happy as Larry. We're crawling to the end. Yeah. But it is the best job in the world.
Yeah, there's a bunch of little breaks in there, and you help you refresh. But yeah, my main thought when I was leaving construction was either I was going to go to mental health or I was going to do teaching.
Yeah.
And then I realised I could do mental health in teaching, and an aspect of it, and that level of connecting with kids, and also just helping them feel like they're normal, that feels not normal or feels crazy is fine. Like that's you got your thing. Like maybe it's not fair, and sometimes like I look back and I think, I might have looked at someone like myself and thought, that's not very fair. But to not have to live in that world of unfair and victim, and to be able to live in that world of like, okay, yeah, that sucks. That's crap. This happened and you don't deserve that. But here's all the things we can do. Here's, and we can also sit in the crap for a bit.
Yep.
And you're allowed to do that, but you have a lot you can do that will help you and only you, and everyone else gets a benefit from that. Like,
I said to a student today, I said to a fellow staff member, and we're just talking about, because we talk about our kids, like we care about our kids, and it's one of those things that you just want to talk to these kids and say, look, mate, you've been dealt some terrible hands.
Yeah.
But we're going to teach you how you can play it. And I'm not trying to use a card playing and blackjack or poker analogy, but there are, and my mum was always big on this, there's other people who've got it worse.
Yeah.
And, and your story tonight, like full on and next level, and something that I never had to experience, but everyone does have their own, their own issues, but there is always someone worse off.
But I find a lot of strength in that, though. I find it like I find a lot of time. I think I was lucky to experience it. It sounds so weird, but I actually think I was lucky to experience that, because I got to learn a lot about myself at a very young age, or a lot about who my mum was. These incredibly strong people, who my my village is. You know,
Yep.
like Michael and Shelley Green down the road with Lucy Green, their daughter, and they were like literally they were like family. They were just always there for you. They would do anything for you, and they still feel like family. You know, they still feel like Shelley's a mum and Michael's a dad to me. And I was very lucky to have that. And it goes back to the community I got to be raised in. And some people don't have that. And then being able to understand how you might not get that one either. Yeah. And there are things going against you, and you got to work a little harder for it. And that's where I think I sort of look back at, maybe the way I went to footy clubs and sort out these people, sort out the people I felt like were going to, recharge me, energize me, make me feel nice, and I can do the same thing. I do feel like I'm somewhat lucky to experience as well, as weird as that sounds. And I know it sounds probably quite strange to a lot of people, but I do see it as a benefit.
Mate, it's made you the person you are today.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because everything does. Like, there's an old saying that I'd always listen to, and it's no smooth seas ever made a skilled sailor. I love that saying.
Say that 5 times quickly.
No smooth
in a Liverpool accent.
Yeah, I got to do a Liverpool for you.
We'll get to that in a minute, mate.
But yeah, it just means like there's just bumps in the road. There's just a lot of things that are going to challenge you.
And again, I spoke about this last week on episode 7 with Kimbo, and my partner hates me when I mention this word, but like the word resilience, like it is just, and times are always going to get tough, and you can just complain and whinge, or you can just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And like the other night, everyone was doing the City of the Bay on the Sunday, so I went for a 12K walk on Saturday night, and it was a bit windy and there was a little bit of rain at the start, but I put my jacket on and walked, and I could have just been like, it's too cold and wet, but 15 minutes in, it was the most beautiful night, and
there's a lot of accomplishment in that too.
Yeah, but it's just that resilience, mate. So, but you said there, like you've said, you're glad you've gone through it because it's made you into an incredible bloke, incredible man, and dad.
I don't know about that one, but yeah,
husband, friend, educator, podcast guest,
Yeah, no, but I think I really appreciate you saying that. But I've also got all the blemishes. I've also got the things that I don't really love about myself, and I think those things take a lot of time to work through, and maybe I will, maybe I won't ever.
Yep.
But also understanding that maybe that's all right as well.
Yeah.
And, I grew up a lot of my life. It was weird. I had a real moment of what steered me was, what would Dad do? And I did the opposite.
Wow.
And it was wild. I demonized him. Like, I made him just way worse than he was. But it helped me do the right decision morally, and it wasn't even like what Dad would have done, but I don't know, it's just this weird headspace I got into, and I was beneficial, but it's not a long-term strategy. So I was surviving through those moments, and I think as good as that was for that time, that's again not a long-term strategy. So when you grow up and you become an adult, and I don't know, I was going through a trade, and then I was a teacher, and then I'm a dad and husband, and all these things, you've got to figure out what works for you. And there are people out there to do that, to help figure that out with you, which is really helpful and hard to do at the same time. But, I do remember, even I was 18, dating a girl called Sophie Mackay, and just beautiful family. The Mackay family, if they ever hear this, they're just the most beautiful family, so loving. They gave so much to me, and I was as I usually was, maybe on a Friday night or a Thursday night, I was at the Mackay household, and they've got three girls, and Angus, who is at that point he was 8 years old, and John and Leandra, mum and dad. And I was sitting in the kitchen at the island, and I think I was having a beer with John, and we're just having a really nice chat, just a general chit chat. And he was a really great person for me at that point in my life, because I just stopped seeing Dad as well, and I was a bit confused, but I never really kind of wanted to bring it up. And John was standing there, and Angus came over at 8 years old. He's like, "Oh, Dad, can you read me a book to go to bed?" And I felt my skin tighten. Like, I just felt so uncomfortable all of a sudden. And John would just went, "Oh yeah, mate, no worries. I'll just finish this beer and pick a book, and I'll be in there in a sec." And I was beyond uncomfortable at this point. Like my skin had tightened. I remember like my temperature had gone up in my body. I felt all this tension. I felt like really, oh no, something's about to go down, and nothing happened. Like Soph and her sisters and her mum were just still eating their cheese platter, having a laugh. John was just talking to me like normal. Angus had just gone to his room to pick the book, and no one was angry at anyone. Like John wasn't about to yell at Leandra, and I remember just going like, "Oh my god! Like, what is Angus thinking? How could he imagine Dad would read him the book? Like, oh my, this is so out of line." And then John just walked off, read him the book, and then just dawned on me like really quick. Oh, it's me. I was used to something as what I saw as normal. My dad didn't do that. My dad, that wasn't his role. That's that toxic masculinity that came into it, and it was just like, oh,
It's the word normal. Like,
yeah.
you didn't know what normal was.
No, I didn't know anyone else's, and I'd been to plenty of houses, had lots of friends, but I'd never seen the interactions that triggered me. And as an 18-year-old, you're looking at being a man then. And what does that even look like? And for 18-year-old women, what does that look like? You need someone to help you sometimes. And I was very lucky to have John. For 4 years of my life, he was an exceptional role model because he was a vulnerable man. He was a masculine man. He was a terrific parent. He had his hobbies. He still held on to himself as an identity. And he had his faults. And that was just him. And I was really lucky to see that at that age because I was obviously pretty challenged. I didn't have the dad.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I had this guy who was a dad who was just an awesome human. And I went, I think I'm just going to do what he does. And I kind of just shaped a lot of things I did around what John did a lot of the time.
But how good's those, and we talk about before, all those experiences you have.
Yeah.
Some are good, some are bad. Unfortunately, you broke up with Sophie, but those 4 years and, all the connections you made, and, you probably learnt so much about yourself and how to be a great human. And
yeah,
that's why you always, a lot of kids will be like, oh, I don't like that teacher. I'm like, well, there might be a couple of things you like what they do or take the good things and then, forget about the other things. But, mate, what you've described, Ben, and that knowing what normal is and what we're not used to.
Yeah.
And that's the comfort zone as well. And, mate, it just seems like everything shaped you, and you've gone through a relationship breakup and had to co-parent, and, you're successfully doing that. And like your resilience and how you just, mate, I've never seen someone more calm. Like you've come in here tonight, you put your feet up on the couch, which I love because I didn't have to tell you. You've made yourself at home. You've gone on the toilet 3 times and, found your way to the fridge. But, mate, your kids are lucky to have you as, Evie and Rory, but also, all your kids that you're teaching, mate. So, look, I think before we finish, mate, we do need to finish on a bit of a lighter note. And we won't keep talking about all the back-to-back-to-back premierships. And funny enough, though, you said to me before you're working at, you're working out South Adelaide's Footy Oval, which is now I think it's McGain Stadium. It used to be Flinders University Stadium, and Panther Park. There was another name in there that I should know. Higginbotham Oval. That was the one. Yeah. But yeah, we played in many a successful winning premiership on that oval, and now you're working there. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Mate, I've loved having you on today's episode. Can you just do our listeners? Can you just put yourself in Liverpool or put yourself in just in the middle of England, and just you're just having a chat with someone, and
I'll tell one story. So my family all in Liverpool. They're real salt of the earth Scousers. So there's one side that lives a little bit out of Liverpool that you wouldn't call them Scousers.
What's the Scouser? What's that originate?
Scouse pie. So there's a tea towel I have at home, and you make a Scouse pie. So there's the way they did it. But a lot of my grandma's side are very little human beings, and they're awesome. Like they're very loyal, they're very family orientated, but their accent's really thick.
Yep.
And when I went to Liverpool when I was 18, I had organised to meet up with my auntie Colette, who's on my grandma's side, and they're all 5 foot and below.
Yep.
None of them taller. And
vertically challenged, I believe.
vertically challenged, yeah. And I think what went wrong for them was that sunshine. They didn't get any. So they look at us because I'm the shortest one out of my brothers, and I'm 6'1", and they just can't understand it. They're like, where did we go wrong? But I opened up the front door to meet my auntie Colette. And as I opened up I've got to swear in this because
go your hardest.
Does, but I opened up the front door and she looked at me and she's like, "Fuck me, you're like a lifeguard." And I just looked at her. I was like, "I actually am a lifeguard at this." I was at Brighton Surf Club, and she's like, "That's just wrong." And they just have this real the way they go about things and the way they talk, and like I was part of their family and I didn't know it. And it's like every time they'd introduce you to someone, this is our Al. Look how fucking tall he is, and it was just great. Like I just felt like a kind of a little celebrity, but also like part of a very little home of people.
Yep.
And I could go there in a heartbeat and just feel right at home.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's,
and you can talk like them as well and fit in.
I can, yeah. I've heard enough of their accents to kind of mimic them and be able to understand it. I remember a friend of mine, we went traveling around Europe, and yeah, they were talking. My family was talking. He grew up in Australia, and he's just looking at me like, what the fuck are they saying? And I was like, they're speaking English. It's just like an accent. He's like, I can't understand anything.
Well, being a Liverpool supporter, I remember when Steven Gerrard used to talk, I thought he was bloody German, but I didn't know that he was actually born in England. Liverpool, the Mighty Reds, currently undefeated, 5-0. 5 points clear already. It's basically the
last minute heroes,
back-to-back titles, mate. So look, Ali, we'll wrap up the pod now, and I know the listeners would have loved hearing this. When I say loved hearing your story, there'll be a lot that resonate with it. It does have a happy ending, and that's the most important. And you know, from the times where I first met you playing footy, you know, those times at the Dublin, like when you mentioned that the other day, I was like, holy shit, we did go and see you at the Dublin, and I loved it. Like I love the Dublin, and it's a great pub. Obviously, it's now the Moseley, but they were good times there. And mate, lots of good memories, and moving forward, mate. At least I know every New Year's Eve, if I'm at a party or something, and you know, Ali Fleming might be having his birthday, so at the Big Bash or something,
little party popper for me.
Bloody oath, mate. But what I will say before we finish is that you're the exact reason why I've started the podcast. It's not it's legitimately for people to tell stories that will help others. And you said and by the way, to our listeners, Ali has listened to my previous episodes and he's quoted quite a few of them. So, it's, you know, I've interviewed a lot of some AFL players, and you know, for me, I love hearing about their stories. I guess the whole point of the pod is, you know, a couple of weeks ago we had an Olympic swimmer on, Ryan Mitchell, and his stories were just amazing. But yours is someone that you're not famous, you know, neither am I. We will be soon, and that's where this podcast comes into it. But mate, like if this story can help 2 or 3 people, and you know, and that's why I say to all the listeners, please reach out to me, and you know, just if Ali's stories helped you, mate, I've done my job as a podcast host. So, mate, thanks for coming on Halfwit.
No problems. Thanks for having me. I really felt a bit special being able to share it, and you did in a very respectful way, which is really important when you're talking about it.
And I don't reckon you and I would have had a face-to-face conversation in
a decade.
No, it could have been 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
But I called you on, you know, 4 days ago on Sunday, and you've picked up and we spoke for bloody hours.
Yeah.
And then you've come in tonight and you've been here for 2 hours, and you probably want to stay another 2 hours. So
it's great.
It's the beauty of footy clubs, mate, and meeting people and fellow teachers. So, Ali Fleming, thanks for being on Halfwit.
Thank you so much.
And just like that, we are 8 episodes down. A huge thanks to Ali Fleming for being today's guest on Halfwit. I just hope you really, you're able to get something out of our chat before. And I just really appreciate how Ali was able to speak from the heart, and just how he's been able to come out the other side. And you know, he's got 2 beautiful kids, and he's happily married and enjoying his job as a teacher. And just loved having you on today's episode, Ali. And thank you again. Like I said earlier, all the best to all you teachers and all you kids as well. They're on school holidays, very well deserved, and a good chance for us to So I'll recharge. Huge effort for everyone running the City to Bay last Sunday in the rain. I know I did say I was going to run it this year, but I would like to announce that in 2026, I will be running the City to Bay for the first time. So now that I've said it on the podcast, I have to do it. So please, everyone, make me accountable. Make sure that I do it next year. I've got 361 days to prepare for it. Anyways, I'm probably going to go on a little couple of weeks hiatus from any recording. So, I've got the golf clubs packed. I've already got a round planned for, I think, Sunday and Tuesday, and a couple of rounds next week on the Eyre Peninsula. Probably Port Lincoln Golf Course. Might even check out this little 9-hole course at Coffin Bay as well, and maybe on the way home swing by the mighty town of Wyler for a hit there. So I think the first hole at Wyler is about 800 metres and it's about dead straight. But no, very looking forward to my holidays, having a little bit of a break and a bit of a reset. But like I say always, I hope you really enjoy listening because I'm really enjoying making them. I'm Matt Whitford. Thanks for listening.